Hello guys and girls, welcome back to the channel. My name is Roman. Today I am putting on Eibach lowering springs on my 2017 BMW X5 3.5i with a regular suspension. So this does not have airbags in the back, it does not have the dynamic suspension, it's just a standard suspension. Because I did not realize when you buy an Msport model that it comes with standard suspension. I thought Sport at least came with sport suspension. Anyhow, so we're trying to lower this tractor, and I'm gonna do it backwards. I just did the rear lowering springs, and I'm just gonna basically show you what you need to remove, a couple of hints and tricks, and basically putting it back together is just reverse. So let me just kind of show you what you got to take off. All right, guys. So this is the driver's side rear. This is the Eibach spring. In case you can't read. Again, 2017 all-wheel drive X5 standard suspension. So a couple of things you're going to have to remove. One, and I would probably do this last, is take this shock bolt out. That's a 21 mil. There's also right there you can see the sway bar link. To unbolt it from the bottom here, right there. So that's an 18 mil nut, and you will need a 40 mil Torx bit. I don't know if it's 40 mil or whatever it's called, but a 40 Torx bit. It's one of these. If you ever want to work on your BMWs, you're going to need a whole set of these. Definitely need these. The reason you need this is because when you try to take that bolt off, the stud will spin through. Also on the driver's side here, let me put some light on it for you. There's a headlight level sensor you need to disconnect. It is right there. You can see a little bit of blue on it right here. I recommend you disconnect it at the bottom point. It's just easier to access, and then once you actually put the lowering spring on, that little connector gets in the way, which it wasn't before. So once you take that off, you need to remove this weird pyramid looking thing. It's not attached, it just has a metal like a plastic stud inside of it, and you need to just get a screwdriver, get whatever you need to get, and pry that thing up. It's not going to come out super easy, but it will come out. Once that's off, you're gonna need to stick a pry bar or something else under right here, basically to lift it up and pull the spring out this way. Mine came out with this lower pad as well, and the upper pad came right out at the same time. The upper pad, so you will actually see when you put your new springs on, at least on the Eibach ones, the holes basically on the bottom and the top are different sizes. The one on top is smaller, the one on the bottom is bigger. The bigger one goes, at least for me, goes onto this one, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to fit them on. So what you need to do is, if your top mount comes out, it only goes in one way. It has like these two kind of like, they're kind of look like this, kind of like pointing that way, two notches or whatever you want to call them there, and then there's holes to match those up top. So you're gonna put that in first, spin it towards the car, I guess, or counterclockwise. You'll figure that out, obviously, because you won't be able to spin it the other way. Put that in first, and then, so the tricky part, this part does not fit through these gaps on the new springs. I don't know if you really need it. I've never seen it on any other cars, but I decided to put it in. But the problem is you literally have to hold on to it or tape it to the spring on the inside, because you have to put it in at the same time. Like, you have to put the spring in while this thing's inside. So if you want that back in, just FYI before you put it in, because that's the reason you see some scratches here, is because I have to pry this back up and put it in again. So that's basically it. Get it in there. And then when you're adjusting your spring, only turn it that way. So the rear bumper's over here. So for me at least, again, because you don't want the top part to come loose again, you want to turn it that way. So, this way. And that's primarily it. Once you get this in, this is nice and tight. You're gonna want to either put like a jack stand or get a smaller. I have like this scissor jack. You're not going to be pushing a whole lot, so you could really put it like right underneath this control arm, like right here, because you're not going to put a whole lot of weight on here. You know, the whole car is not going to be resting on it. So basically push this up until the shock lines up. It does have like a it does kind of protrude that way, so it slides in perfectly, so you have to get it lined up. You can also, typically the shocks will kind of retract itself up, or you can pull them down a little bit too to adjust them. So do that first. Make sure your sway bar link is, you know, aligned. That one goes in really easy. Tighten it back up, and then do your headlight level sensor. Okay, and then at that point, once everything's tight, take your secondary jack out. If you have a jack stand, jack the car back up, and that's it. That's the whole rear. The other side's exactly the same, except there's no level sensor on that side. And then, so this is kind of part one. Part two is going to be the front. So the front, honestly, I've seen a lot of videos. There's already out there for the front. The only real difference is a lot of the videos out there, the rear cars have airbags. So like there's an airbag here instead of a spring. That's how my E70 is set up because I have self-leveling. This car does not have it. So so I wanted to add this in because it seemed like there wasn't any videos about that yet, but stay tuned. I'll show you guys how to do the front. All right, guys, so getting to the front, there's a little bit of panel removing, whatever you want to call it, you have to do up top to get access to the 3 bolts here that hold the shock in place. You can see the 2 right there, 1, 2, and then here's the 3rd one. So you're not going to remove these. You can, if you want, you can loosen them, but don't take them off yet. The first thing you're going to do is there's these 2 panels. So this one and this one, they just pop right off. There's like a little mounting thing right here. Sorry guys, it's typical. This is bad lighting. Right here, you just, I forget, either push down on it or you push up and it will pop. It will let it slide out from underneath the cowl. Other than that, there's no screws for this part. There's no bolts, nothing. Also, before you do that, take this weather stripping off. Now, what's missing here, because I already took this off, is the 3 panels that basically sit underneath. So you kind of have like this center section, and then there's 2 side sections, and then you have to take off the cabin air filter as well. So the cabin air filter pops right off, no problem. These have a bunch of these T25 screws, so you're gonna take all them out. There's also 3 of these. We got 10, 12, what is it? 10 mil bolts. Again, very common, right? 10 mil. And there's 2 of these little pop-out rivet thingies, whatever you want to call them, that just go right here, one here and one just on the other side. So that will let you get to all the bolts. You don't have to take off the strut brace. I don't believe. Wow, that is a really long bolt. But that's it. So at this point, I'm just going to take the wheel off, start taking things off there, and then we'll continue from there. All right, boys and girls, I have basically disconnected the shock. I just have 1 bolt up top holding it in place. So here's what you need to do. You need to take off the pinch bolt here. So this is where your shock actually mounts into. So the bottom of the shock goes in here. So you have to take this pinch bolt off, and then this one as well. This is where it connects to one of your control arms. This one is a 21 by 21. It's this big guy right here. This one is 18, and the one for so this is a pinch bolt that goes up here. Sorry, it's kind of crooked right now, but it's normally here. So this part goes into it. So this is an 18 and 18. This is the 18 for this part right here. And then it was your sway bar link, so it connects right here. Same setup as before, 18 mil bolt. You need a 40 Torx bit for this end to keep it from spinning through. There's no level sensors on this side. And I'm trying to remember, what is this one? Oh, so I'm sorry. This is the one for, this is the bigger one that's for the sway bar link. These are the two 13 mils from on top. So the two top ones are 13. So at this point, it's completely loose. It's ready to come out. What you want to do is basically when you take off the last bolt is hold on to this, because you don't want this falling through, pulling on your brake lines, etc., etc. So I'm going to take that part out, and I'm going to show you how I take my struts apart. It's not a safe way. So if you want to do it the safe way, I would put a spring compressor on this, one on the left side, one on the right side. Just tighten it down so it won't pop. I've kind of figured out that if you stand on it and you put it by a wall, you can kind of get away with not doing that. I don't recommend you do that just for safety purposes. I don't want to be liable for anything you do. So do that at your own risk. But again, screen compressor, tighten this down, take the top bolt off, and you're good to go. That's the right way. Or if you have a machine, or like typically a shop has a machine that will just, they could clamp it down and take the top pad off. All right. So stay tuned. I'll show you how to put the spring on there, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, I figure this is a good point, good part to show. So anytime when you're taking off top hats off of struts, you almost always need a pass-through socket. So now, if you do have this thing compressed, you might be able to get it, not even compressed, but if you have something to keep the tension down, you might be able to get away with using like a, what do you call it? Like a power, what am I thinking of? Like a power gun, to do this fast. I don't think mine will do it, and plus I don't have anything to keep this down, so I like to do this manually, because that way I can get it all the way to the lip and then set this up to basically, not have it bounce all over the place and break something or kill me. So, so if you don't have a power gun, whatever they're called, you need an 18 mil pass-through socket. There's a bunch of different kinds. I just have like this set that I've had forever from Craftsman, and a 6 mil Allen. Right, so now you can probably get away with using like a regular Allen, but it's always good to have the socket kind. And all you're basically doing is just holding the strut, the shaft here in place while you're taking the nut up, up to the end. So I figured I'd share that with you just in case, because you may need to have this tool if you don't have it to do this. So just an FYI. I wanted to add a few more things. One, when you're removing the shock, you may notice that I've put this on a jack stand. What you don't want to do is push like way too hard and pull that thing like forward outside of the car. What that will do is it will take your axle and actually pull it out of your it will pull it out basically, and then you're gonna have to try to line it up perfectly back in. It can be done. It's not incredibly difficult, but it's just an extra thing you just don't want to deal with. So don't pull that thing too forward. You just want to push down on this, like keeping it exactly how it is normally in the car, like as vertical as possible, because this part, as you can see the line right here, so this is how far this sits. So you have to pull this down enough to get that out. And as you can kind of tell, so this sits, your axle actually goes through here. It's connected, it's connected down here. So you're gonna have unconnected or disconnected, if you want to use proper English. And you're just basically gonna push this down, which will get your CV axle. It'll push it down, giving you more room to get this out, to get this down so you can get this out. So just wanted to say that. I had zero drama taking this apart. No, seriously, no joke. You guys just saw how I did it. I got it down. I put this against the wall and then just put my foot right on here. This thing barely moved. Like, I don't know if maybe that's why they start making this such a long stud for these, or I'm not really sure why. I've never seen it this long on any car, but it had very little like pop. So I'm not sure if maybe because, again, I have the most basic suspension, or I don't know what it is, but it was very simple. Like, you just take your time, obviously, but it was very easy. So now basically everything's gonna go in backwards. You're gonna put this in first. So this can be a little bit difficult. You're gonna have to line it up, get it through the holes, get at least one bolt on it, and then tighten the rest. I never tighten them all the way. I leave it a little loose, so you have a little bit of more wiggle room, when you're installing this and this bottom end. That's always helpful. So, but other than that, it's just reverse order. So put the top hat on, the top bolts in first, reattach, line up the bottom. I would actually make sure it slides all the way down to that line. So here's the line right here, right? So you want to get this down exactly to here. If it's not down to here, don't tighten the pinch bolt. Maybe put another jack underneath and lower the car down to get more pressure down on there. These things can get a little bit rusty and stuff like that, so you can actually put a little bit of lube in here if you wanted to. There's really no reason why you couldn't. So that's it. I'm gonna put it all together. If there's any like little hints or tricks I pick up along the way, I'll let you guys know, and then we'll finish out the video. So okay guys, a little quick tip also when putting everything back together. So this bottom part right here, as you can see, there's a stopper for the spring. So you want to line up this part all the way, and then you want to make sure to do the same thing on top. All right, boys and girls, so everything is put together. So the one hint I can give you, the top hat only goes in one way. You can tell like there's a shorter distance between two of the studs, so make sure you line that up. So this part right here, I was able just to squeeze it down with just both of my hands and then slide in the bolt. That was the last thing I did before tightening up the top hat. So basically I put everything else on except for the sway bar link. Did this part last, that part. Then I basically put a jack stand under here, lower the car a little bit, basically pushing this whole assembly up to line up the sway bar link, tighten that up, tightened up the top bolts in the top hat, and that's really it, guys. There's not a whole lot to this. That's the previous owner did a half paint job on this, probably with a spray paint. We'll fix that eventually. But the only thing I want to tell you guys is that fork part that holds the shock, the bottom bolt. So that's actually another thing too. These are 16s and the other one's 18. Sorry, I told you guys they're both 18s, but one's a 16. So anyways, that fork part, that mine was on really tight. Let me try see if I can show it to you guys. Yeah, so right there, that bolt right there, all the way on the bottom. That bolt was on really tight. Luckily, I have enough tools here to give me leverage. Probably easier with power tools, but don't have that option. So I think this is going to finish up. I'm going to do the other side. As you guys can tell, I work in a carport and I have a wall on the other side, so I don't get the luxury of just, you know, parking my car and just lifting it up. I have to actually move it afterwards too. I know, small, big world, third world problems, first world problems. I'm very tired. But that's it. If I see anything that's weird on the other side that I should let you know about, I'll add that to the video. Other than that, please subscribe, hit like, and I hope this helped you out. Oh, and if I forgot anything, please add it in the comments, of course. Help everybody else out too. So have a good day.